Why the hell am I playing a game about monster hunting, but my priority at every village is to stop and play Gwent with the locals instead of solving the problems they hired me for? And they happily play with me. Of course, Siri can wait. She's a grown-up girl, I'm a grown-up man, so I need to collect cards across the Northern Realms. Sometimes, like every one of us, I just need a game to cool off and relax. When I come home after a stressful day and sit down to play, I like to turn to the RPGs rather than multiplayer games with friends. I think my problem is similar to what many people have in the current time. We don't have a third space to properly enjoy ourselves, so we turn to the digital multiplayer games like Dota or League of Legends. But at the end of the day, the experience, even with friends, can be toxic and just ruin my day even more. Instead, I go collect cards into Witcher or try to end up in a bed with as many women as I can. Or I travel across the Sword Coast, in the Baldur's Gate 3. I get that feeling of having my own dungeon party, like in World of Warcraft, but completely under my command. It has those Fellowship of the Ring vibes on a quest to cure ourselves of the worm in our head. Or I turn to more dramatic, well-written older games like Dragon Age Origins. I can enjoy these at my own pace and sink a lot of hours into them. They may even give me a better value than spending 45 minutes in an online match, constantly arguing over whose fault it is, with insecure teammates who behave like they are in the 3rd grade. Simply turning on a game and being immediately pulled into a beautifully crafted world to explore is amazing. I enjoy seeing handcrafted worlds inspired by the culture of the development team like The Witcher or the heartwarming fantasy landscape in Baldur's Gate 3. For me, it is so peaceful that I lose all sense of time when playing it. I believe there are many things people like about the RPG genre. Many people probably have bad times and hard struggles. In their free time, RPG offer a sense of power, the ability to solve problems and help individuals. It lets us push aside the harsh reality of the real world and enjoy a place where doing good or bad things can ease our mind. At the end of the day, even if we are highly skilled at online games, the peaceful life of an RPG enjoyer is a deeply positive thing. We have the agency to act as we like. We can help to suppress as a Geralt in The Witcher, enact the will of Baal in the Baldur's Gate, or become a king or a queen in the Dragon Age Origins. We have the ability to craft our story, paving through decision paths that lead to real outcomes. We get the feeling that the things we do actually matter. It's not like turning in a paper to a boss or a professor, where it will be read by him and maybe 5 other people. You get a pat on the back for a good work and that's all. In RPGs we have the feeling of being the hero. We get praised by locals for completing quests. These games give us a certain dopamine hit, fulfilling the needs to hear and see exactly what our actions have done. Multiplayer games don't really give us that. Yeah, maybe I destroyed John the Dota player on a mid lane as Zeus, because I pressed one button, got a double kill on the other lane, and the enemy wrote mid-div. But for me, that doesn't have the same feeling as seeing that I actually helped someone in this sanctuary of mine. To an extent, it even gives me an urge to be more polite to people when I go to university or to meet people in the public. I feel that this is a genuinely good aspect of single-player games. Multiplayer games may promote a more negative environment, as the negativity from toxic teammates can transfer also to us, but to each their own. For instance, I really like the hidden reputation system in The Witcher. As you travel more around Velen or Novigrad, completing contracts and leveling up, you can hear that you are praised. Kids start praising you for being a Witcher, instead of calling you a freak. Guards and villagers who used to yell to hide their wives and kids when you arrive will later tell you, if I have a son, I will call him Geralt. These gratifications give us a much more positive vibe than just defeating someone in a lane in multiplayer. It's a very strange feeling, but a genuinely good one in the end, I think. I would say RPGs give us a tangible results in a given time. It's different from just looking at a bank account after a month to see your paycheck, or getting that pat on the back from a professor for an article that isn't pushed anywhere else because it was just a task to develop your skills. Most of the time, the real world results can feel very small, making me feel undervalued. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But in the game, I see the consequences. I see my level go up. I see that the sword from the master swordsmith in the Novigrad will be instantly sold right back to him because I already have better one. This way I know I'm making phenomenal progress, and all of this is packed into a reasonable amount of time. Instead of looking at some big rank in a multiplayer game, I know that everything a single player game has to offer can be achieved in about 60 to 100 hours. I know exactly how much time I can spend in it instead of stressfully aiming for some artificial rank that can easily be lost, and that multiplayer stress can even bleed out and affect how I treat others. We all have been there. I had those moments, and in the end they are pointless. We can enjoy a game, have a huge agency in it, and the effects may even change how we act outside of it. But let's take a step back, a little bit. From Geralt, step back from hunting cards and riding on a stuffed unicorn with Yennefer, let's look at the other games I mentioned, Baldur's Gate 3 and the Dragon Age Origins. In these games we have beautiful women like Morrigan, Shadowheart, Karlach and Leliana. For some players they might be the main plot of the game. And it's a genuinely good question, why do we halt the entire expedition to fix our brains or stop an archdemon just to spend 3 hours figuring out the best dialogue options to romance our favorite companion? Let's be real, for some it might be the most important aspect, but that brings me to one of the crucial points of the RPGs, the companions. A well-written companion is an important aspect of every RPG. We like them, we value them, and we all know that if a bad route requires us to kill them, we simply never take it. We are just not strong enough to handle that decision. It shows that even if they aren't real, we have a deep compassion for them. It completely contradicts the stereotype that games promote violence. Because here we have RPGs where we listen to the traumas of companion, quick save and try choice 1 to 5 like a lottery just to make sure we get their approval. It doesn't even have to be a girl, it can be Alistair, Astarion or Gale. We value those companions so much that we care about them and we don't want to hurt them. That is the beauty of these RPGs. For me personally, listening to companions across a vast number of RPGs really helped me become more aware and listen to others in real life. It had an impact on me because it showed that everyone holds some kind of trauma and they don't always want to share it, but games can show us how to navigate that. I really love this in Baldur's Gate 3. Like I said, it has a Fellowship of the Ring vibe, but it's a merry band of lunatics. You get a vampire, a god girl, you can fix, a tiefling that could probably bench press you, and a humble wizard among others. I genuinely enjoy this type of adventure because it gives me the vibe of playing my own dungeon group or raid instance in World of Warcraft. I control a group of characters, each with their unique class, and we go into the belly of the beast to defeat evil and save the world. As you set up a camp to rest and talk with them during your adventure, you create a deeper connection and genuinely care about them. In a way, it is a healthy parasocial environment that can help some people be more open to conversations in real life. Of course, keep in mind that a real girl probably won't be as happy as Shadowheart if you lick a goblin's foot to steal a ring. But some choices and moments in these games truly can help us feel more prepared to talk with the strangers and people in the real world. But also, the beauty of Baldur's Gate and Dragon Age Origin is that you can truly insert yourself into the game. You go through that adventure, and through your choices you see the impact of what you did. At the end of both games, there is a heartwarming rallying cry against the final evil, and the main gratitude is given directly to you, the player. Your character carried the team, that can sometimes hold even a bigger value than Geralt's recognition, because Geralt is an established character. But in these games, it is your own character, you cared about them, you valued them. Instead of your regular job, whatever you are, a photographer, a professor or an office worker, you step into the shoes of a bard, a paladin, a warrior or a mage. You become a hero in one of those sanctuaries. But sometimes, even within our sanctuaries, we are unable to save everyone. Just as in real life, we are faced with the heartbreaking moments, like finding Ciri in that cabin and believing for a second that she is dead, or witnessing the death of Vesemir. In the real world, when faced with the aftermath of events like this, we are often stunned. I know, I always was. I felt unable to help others cope with the situation, because it's just incredibly hard to do. But in RPGs, we are given the tools to find solutions. We can actually be there to help our companions navigate their grief. We pick ourselves up and carry on, either to avenge the fallen, or simply to help those who are still relying on us in these sanctuaries of ours. These moments of strength and weaknesses are perfect reflections of what happens in our own lives. But here, we actually have the power to make the most of it, for better or worse. Or maybe you go the way I do. You experiment a little bit more and try to bring something entirely unique to the game itself. I have spent a decent amount of hours in Baldur's Gate 3, and I really like Sebille from Divinity Original Sin 2. I had this idea. What if I put her into the Baldur's Gate 3? Knowing how she acts, I shape the story in her direction. At every turn, I ask myself, what would Sebil do? This created a totally unique situation for me. Even after sinking a massive amounts of hours into the game already, it gave me a unique way to fully enjoy the game again. I think it turned into one of my longest playthroughs. I explored parts I wasn't even aware of, and I could experiment with her build to figure out how to make something identical to Divinity inside Baldur's Gate. This is another great aspect of RPGs and single-player games as a whole. We can easily experiment with the builds we want to make. We don't have to rely on guides or optimal metas like in multiplayer games, where I essentially have to choose the best build just to perform well against an opponent. Here, I can create what I want and just to try to push my way through. I think that's incredible, because in most of our lives or in multiplayer games, we are forced to solve mathematical equations. We are forced to make rational, optimal choices. But in RPGs, we can just have fun. We can try something crazy, like for bards. We can use barrelmancy. We can bring the most absurd ideas that comes to mind and just try to beat the game with it. And failure is actually a great point of these games. Seeing ourselves fall and fail, and maybe living with those consequences can set us on a new path. Or we can just simply reload. But experimenting and enjoying a unique take on the story, playing it numerous times, is amazing. There are even some paths I simply can't take because they are just too dark, and I would have to hurt characters I care about, as I mentioned before. The fact that I feel that way, even though they don't exist in reality, really shows how valuable RPG games are. All of this showed the immense variety of unique elements these games offer us to enjoy. And the best part is the dramatic conclusion I talked about, rallying all of my allies for one final battle against a foe that should surely defeat us. But against all odds, after everything we went through, we rally. We fight at the top of the Netherbrain, calling in all our allies and stopping the grand design. Because it was us. We who might get talked down every day in a working environment or an online space. We who have hard things going on in our lives. We have these games here for us. They are our cheap therapy sessions, because actual therapy can just be too expensive. We enjoyed these sanctuaries, and at the end, as Baldur's Gate 3 does so beautifully, the game thanks us. It wishes great joy to you, the player, who finished this heartwarming piece of media, and that feeling helps you carry on in your everyday life. Anyway, thank you for your attention. More content to come, though not guaranteeing similar quality.